You know, when we think of the Cold War, we almost always think of the space race, right? America versus the Soviet Union, a very public battle for the stars. But there was another race, a secret one, a brutal journey not up, but down. This is the incredible story of the deepest hole humans have ever dug, a classified Soviet project to literally pierce the Earth's crust and see what was hiding down there.
Okay, so listen to this. In the late 80s, a sound file started making the rounds, a really chilling recording. The story was that Soviet scientists had captured this from the deepest parts of the Earth. It quickly became this huge urban legend, the so-called Sounds of Hell. And honestly, it was the perfect, terrifying start to a story that was, well, almost too weird to believe.
So, what's the real story here? I mean, beyond the creepy audio and the wild myths, what did these scientists actually find 12,000 meters below the ground? To really get to the bottom of it, pun intended, we have to go back and understand the sheer ambition that made them start digging in the first place.
You see, this was never just about science. Like so many huge projects in the 20th century, this whole thing was born out of pure raw rivalry.
So while America was looking up, totally obsessed with its Apollo program and getting to the moon, the Soviets, well, they looked down. They started this massive project of super deep drilling. Their goal wasn't the stars, it was the Earth's mantle itself. It was the shadow race, the secret counterpart to the space race, the race to the center of the Earth. And the place they chose for this mission? It was just as extreme as the goal. We're talking about the Kola Peninsula, way up inside the Arctic Circle. Imagine a landscape of just bleak, frozen tundra, a place where you get 6 months of darkness every year. Oh, and it's surrounded by secret Soviet military bases. Seriously, it was the perfect setting for some kind of X-Files type project, completely hidden away at the edge of the world. And man, the journey down was an absolute marathon. We're talking a grueling, decades-long effort. It shows you just how persistent they were. They kicked things off in 1970, and by 79, they'd already smashed the world record for depth. But, you know, the deeper they got, the harder it got. There was this huge accident in '84 that forced them to restart all the way back up at 7 kilometers, a massive, massive setback. But they just kept going, finally hitting that record-breaking depth in 1990 before everything was shut down for good.
Just think about that number for a second. 12,262 meters. That is over 12 kilometers straight down into solid rock. It's almost impossible to picture, right? So what does that distance actually look like?
Okay, to put this in perspective, imagine taking Mount Everest and flipping it upside down. The Kola Borehole is deeper than that. In fact, it's even deeper than the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest spot in any ocean on the planet. I mean, think about that. We as humans have literally dug a hole farther into the Earth's crust than the deepest natural trench in the sea. It's just an insane feat of engineering. And of course, it was this unbelievable depth that spawned an equally unbelievable story.
And this is where things go from a Cold War science project to a terrifying global legend.
So here's the story that went viral. The legend says that at over 14 kilometers down, the drill bit just broke through. It suddenly dropped into a giant empty cave. Their sensors went crazy, supposedly registering a temperature of 2,000 degrees Celsius. And when they lowered these ultra-sensitive microphones down there, they heard screams. The screams of millions of suffering souls. And it gets even crazier. Some versions of the story claim that this bat-like creature, basically a demon, flew out of the hole right before the terrified scientists sealed it shut. And there was always this mysterious Dr. Azakov, who was quoted as the eyewitness to the whole thing. I mean, it's literally got all the makings of a classic horror film. It sounds totally nuts, right? But back in the early days of the internet, this story just exploded. It spread like wildfire, especially in the United States. So you gotta ask, why? What was it about this story that made so many people want to believe it? Well, it's time we separated the facts from the fiction. Because as it turns out, the real story of the Kola Superdeep Borehole is somehow even stranger than the legend. All right, so here's the real deal. The whole well to hell story, it was an April Fool's joke. Yep, it started in a Finnish newspaper, got picked up by some religious media in America, and just blew up from there. There was no Dr. Azakov. They never lowered any microphones down there. Nothing could survive the heat. And those famous sounds of hell, that was just a sound clip from an old horror movie from 1972 called Barren Blood, just looped and distorted. So the legend is totally fake. Case closed, right? Well, not quite, because the actual scientific discoveries they made down there were so mind-blowing, they completely flipped our understanding of the planet on its head.
Okay, get ready for this, because the real finds were wild. First off, they found liquid water, miles and miles deep inside the crust. Scientists had always thought this was impossible, that the pressure would be so intense it would squeeze all the water out of the rock. Nope, they were wrong. They also found fossils of tiny plankton that were 2.8 billion years old, which completely shattered the theories about where life could even exist. And, maybe the weirdest thing of all, rock they pulled up from just 3 kilometers down was almost identical to soil samples that the Apollo missions brought back from the moon. I mean, every single thing they found challenged what we thought we knew.
But the biggest surprise, the real project killer, was the heat. Scientists had predicted it would be around 100 degrees Celsius down there. Instead, it was a blistering 220 degrees. I mean, that's way hotter than boiling water. The drill bit, the electronics, none of their gear was built for that. The rock itself started acting more like a thick plastic than a solid. That was the real reason they had to stop. Not demons from hell, but the Earth itself just pushing back, saying, "You shall not pass."
And yet, there is one little genuine mystery that's never been solved. The actual head of the project, a guy named David Guberman, he went on record saying something truly unexplainable did happen. He said their sensors picked up a very strange noise, followed by what sounded like an explosion deep down in the borehole. But when they went back to check a few days later, there was nothing. Silence. He said that as a scientist, he honestly had no idea what it was.
So, what happened to this epic project? Well, after the Soviet Union collapsed, the money just vanished. The scientists packed up and left, the equipment was all sold for scrap, and the entire site was just abandoned.
And this is all that's left of it today. Just a heavy, rusted metal cap, bolted firmly shut in the middle of nowhere. All of that ambition, all that groundbreaking science, all those crazy legends, they're all sealed away under that one simple piece of metal. The old buildings are just crumbling ruins now, like a ghost town marking a forgotten dream.
But even with such a quiet end, the legacy of the Kola Superdeep Borehole is absolutely huge. It completely changed the field of geology, forcing scientists to literally rewrite the textbooks on the Earth's crust. It pushed drilling tech to its absolute breaking point. And more than anything, it's this powerful symbol of that human need to just explore, to push into the unknown no matter how hard it is.
In the end, I think this whole project proves one thing above all else. We can fly to the stars, we can send rovers to other planets, but we have barely, and I mean barely, scratched the surface of our own world. The biggest mysteries might not be out there in the cosmos, but right here, literally under our feet. And it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Maybe some doors are best left closed.